There is a myth that lives on the internet. It's a seductive one, whispered through glowing screens and perfectly lit photographs. This is the myth of the flawless wood finish. You have seen it, I am certain. It is a tabletop that reflects the clouds with the clarity of a mountain lake. It is a cabinet door so smooth and glassy that you would think it was formed by a divine act, rather than by human hands with a rag and a can of varnish. These images are powerful. They plant a seed of desire in the heart of every woodworker, from the grizzled veteran to the bright-eyed beginner. We see this perfection and we think, that is the goal. That is what I must achieve. This digital quest for a mirror-like surface sets an impossibly high bar. It can turn the joyful act of finishing a project into a frustrating and soul-crushing ordeal. You spend hours, even days, sanding with progressively finer grits of sandpaper. You build a makeshift clean room in your garage, complete with plastic sheeting and a box fan with a filter taped to it, hoping to defeat the eternal enemy dust. Yet, despite your best efforts, a tiny speck of dust lands in the final coat. A minuscule pockmark appears. Under the harsh glare of your shop light, these tiny imperfections look like craters on the moon, mocking your hard work and dedication. The pressure to achieve this unrealistic standard is immense. We start to believe that anything less than a liquid-smooth, factory-grade sheen is a sign of failure. We forget that the wood we are working with is a natural material, full of its own character and quirks. It is not plastic. It is not metal. It is the remnant of a living tree, and our job is to honor it, not to suffocate it under a synthetic, sterile shell. The online world, with its filters and carefully chosen camera angles, often hides the truth. It presents a fantasy that can steal the satisfaction right out of your hands, leaving you feeling inadequate about a piece of furniture that is, in all practical respects, beautifully made. So, we find ourselves in a cycle of sanding and reapplying, chasing a ghost. Each attempt to fix a tiny flaw risks introducing a new one. A drip, a sag, or another wayward mote of dust finds its way into the wet finish. This pursuit of the perfect finish is not only exhausting but also often unnecessary. For most projects that will live in a home, be touched by hands, and serve a purpose, a finish that feels good and protects the wood is far more important than one that looks like a sheet of glass. We must begin by questioning the very goal we are striving for and ask ourselves if this digital ideal has any place in the real world of sawdust and glue. Let me tell you a secret that might bring you some comfort. Even the most high-end, professionally finished furniture is rarely as flawless as you might think. I have had the privilege to examine pieces made by true masters of the craft, items that command hefty prices in galleries and showrooms. When you get up close, away from the soft, forgiving light of a photo studio, you can find the evidence of human hands. You might find a minuscule dust nib here or a slight waviness in the reflection there, often called orange peel. These are not signs of failure. They are the quiet signatures of a handmade object. The illusion of perfection is often manufactured. Those stunning online videos and magazine spreads are the result of more than just skilled finishing. They are the product of strategic lighting, clever camera angles, and sometimes digital editing. A low, raking light will expose every single tiny imperfection on a surface, turning a nearly perfect finish into a landscape of hills and valleys. Conversely, soft, diffused overhead light can make that very same surface look immaculate. The creators of this content are not trying to lie to you, necessarily. They are simply presenting their work in the best possible light, quite literally. This creates a false standard that we then try to replicate under the unforgiving glare of our own shop lights. This gap between perception and reality is where a lot of good woodworkers lose their nerve. They will finish a beautiful chest of drawers, and it will look fantastic in the dining room where it is meant to live. But they will remember how it looked under the harsh light of their workshop and feel a sense of disappointment. They will focus on the one tiny flaw that no one else will ever notice. The amount of time and effort required to go from a 95% perfect finish to a 99% perfect finish is astronomical. It often involves many more hours of meticulous wet sanding and buffing, all for a result that is barely perceptible in normal conditions. In most cases, that extra effort is simply not a practical use of your time. Think about the purpose of the piece. Is it a display cabinet that will be viewed from a distance? Or is it a kitchen table that will see daily use from your family? The standards for these two pieces should be entirely different. The truth is, a good enough finish that is applied well, is durable, and feels good to the touch is far superior to a perfect but delicate finish that took you weeks of frustration to achieve. The real professionals know this. They know where to focus their energy and, more importantly, when to say, "This is good. It is done." Let us shift our thinking away from how a finish looks in a photograph and toward how it performs in the real world. The primary job of a finish is not to create a mirror. Its job is to protect the wood underneath from moisture, scratches, and the general wear and tear of daily life. A finish should be functional first and beautiful second. When we prioritize a glass-like appearance above all else, we sometimes choose finishes that are less durable or harder to repair. A thick, glossy polyurethane might look stunning at first, but it can show scratches more readily and can be a real bear to touch up if it gets damaged. Consider finishes that are designed for longevity and ease of maintenance, rather than for a high-gloss shine. Products like hard wax oils, for example, are a woodworker's friend. These finishes, such as those from Osmo or Rubio Monocoat, soak into the wood fibers rather than sitting on top as a plastic film. They provide excellent protection and give the wood a natural, tactile feel that is a pleasure to touch. The best part? If you get a scratch or a scuff mark down the road, you can often repair just that one spot with a bit of wax and a cloth. You do not have to strip and refinish the entire surface, which is a monumental task. There are many real-world situations where a less-than-perfect, more robust finish is the intelligent choice. Think of a child's toy, a workbench top, a set of kitchen chairs, or a cutting board. These items are meant to be used, and they will inevitably collect dents, dings, and scratches. That is their story. A tough, easily renewable finish like a simple oil or a wax blend allows these objects to age gracefully. Chasing a flawless, high-gloss sheen on a piece like this is an exercise in futility. It is like putting a silk tuxedo on a lumberjack right before he goes to work. You are simply setting yourself up for heartache. The key is to make smart compromises. Learn to recognize the point of diminishing returns. This is the moment when the extra hours you are spending are making only a tiny, almost invisible improvement. Ask yourself, will anyone but me, under a spotlight, at a 30-degree angle, ever notice this flaw? If the answer is no, then it is time to put down the sandpaper and move on. The wisdom is in knowing when to stop chasing the ghost of perfection and declare your work complete. A durable, functional piece of furniture that you can finish with confidence is a far greater achievement than a fragile, flawless object that fills you with anxiety. So, what is the path forward? The first step is to set realistic goals for your finishing. Before you even open a can of varnish, think about the project's intended use. A jewelry box might warrant a more refined finish, while a rustic bookshelf can embrace a more textured, handmade look. Do not hold your kitchen table to the same standard as a museum piece. By matching your finishing goals to the project's purpose, you set yourself up for success and satisfaction from the very beginning. This simple act of adjusting your expectations can transform the finishing process from a stressful ordeal into a rewarding conclusion to your hard work. Learning to fix minor issues without starting over is a crucial skill. If you find a dust nib in your dried finish, you do not always need to sand the whole thing back to bare wood. You can often carefully shave the nib off with a sharp razor blade held flat, or gently sand just that tiny spot with a very fine grit sandpaper, like 1500 or 2000 grit. Then, you can apply a tiny amount of finish to that spot, or, in many cases, simply buff the area with some paste wax to blend it in. Learning these small repair techniques will give you the confidence to tackle imperfections without feeling like you have failed. Embrace the small imperfections as part of the story of your piece. They are reminders that it was made by a person, not a machine. These little marks are what separate your work from the soulless, mass-produced furniture that fills big box stores. Each one is a lesson. That tiny sag in the corner teaches you about applying thinner coats next time. That speck of dust reminds you to be more diligent about cleaning your workspace. These are not failures. They are tuition paid to the School of Woodworking. They are the experiences that will make you a better craftsperson on your next project. Ultimately, the goal of woodworking should be enjoyment and satisfaction, not the pursuit of an impossible standard. Find joy in the process. Feel the grain of the wood under your hands. Take pride in tight-fitting joinery and a design that works. A finish is just the final step, the protective clothing for the beautiful thing you have built. Let your work be good enough. Let it be durable. Let it be something you are proud to use and share. A perfect finish is not one without flaws. It is one that is complete, that protects the wood, and that allows you to look at your work with a sense of peace and accomplishment.